This chart compares two paths a modern company can take. On the left is the baseline cost of a standard human employee's salary. On the right is the actual lifecycle cost of replacing that employee with an enterprise AI system. The numbers contradict the public narrative. In reality, replacing a worker with artificial intelligence costs hundreds of thousands of dollars more than simply paying a human to do the job. Despite this math, the global economy currently has a $1 trillion hole in it. Tech executives are aggressively throwing capital into AI development, while simultaneously laying off over 55,000 workers in the name of efficiency. All this capital is being transferred to the companies manufacturing the physical hardware driving the boom. But outside of this isolated tech sector wealth loop, the heavy investment in AI has contributed absolutely nothing to broader US GDP growth. A $1 trillion investment is difficult to picture. To understand the scale of what these executives are gambling on in unproven technology, it equals the cost of building 10 international space stations. The current AI boom is a massive capital misallocation, fueled by executive panic rather than a genuine leap in operational efficiency. The financial cost is only half the equation. Keeping basic predictive AI search queries functioning requires a colossal physical power drain. Processing 2.5 billion daily queries requires the daily energy output of an entire nuclear reactor, and that is just to maintain the current portals. Training the next generation of supercomputer models will multiply this demand tenfold, requiring the equivalent of 10 nuclear reactors running round the clock. This demand is maxing out power grids in wealthy nations, and to feed these massive data centers the information they need, the human labor required to train the AI models is quietly outsourced to lower-income areas overseas. Global physical infrastructure is being aggressively strained to its limits. Mountains of coal and natural gas are burned to support a technology that still regularly fails to execute the basic tasks companies purchased it for. To understand why so much money is burning, you have to look at the environment where the checks are signed. By the time an executive reaches the top of the corporate ladder, they are entirely surrounded by yes-men, people who do not challenge their decisions or question their judgment. Drop an AI chatbot into that highly isolated space, and it becomes the ultimate enabler. By design, the bot mimics a subordinate who never argues, never pushes back, and always delivers a confident answer. This flowchart illustrates the trap. An executive inputs a prompt, and the AI provides uncritical validation. This creates a dopamine hit disguised as objective intelligence, boosting their ego, which leads to increased investment in the tool. It's a closed delusion loop. This psychological reinforcement has serious consequences. Researchers at Aarhus University found that isolated interactions with agreeable, uncritical chatbots actually worsen delusions and harmful behaviors in clinical patients. Executives are already prone to these closed-loop environments. When a CEO sits in a corner office asking a chatbot for advice, they receive back the same encouragement they give themselves to keep investing and keep cutting. They are essentially being egged on by an algorithm they coded to agree with them. Inside the tech industry, they have a name for this manic spell: cyberpsychosis. Y Combinator CEO Gary Tan recently described his own experience with it, bragging that he was so energized by working with AI agents he only needed 4 hours of sleep a night. Tech leaders who treat a predictive text model as a conscious, autonomous oracle quickly lose their perspective. In the pursuit of what they call God mode, the line between a structured series of code and a thinking mind begins to blur. But lift the hood, and the technical reality is incredibly brittle. There is no thinking mind. AI is simply a highly structured predictive text model pulling from existing sources. When you crash the executive hallucination into actual business data, the illusion shatters. A study out of MIT examined 300 public implementations of AI in the corporate world to see if the technology was actually working. This funnel chart shows a brutal reality of corporate AI adoption. While 60% evaluate AI tools, numbers drop sharply. Only 20% reach a working pilot stage. At the bottom of the funnel is the final sliver. Only 1% ever reach production and show significant impact on company profit. The vast majority of this trillion-dollar investment is quietly evaporating inside an executive echo chamber. The consequences of this delusion loop hit the real world fast. The digital bank Klarna decided to act as an early test case, confident that AI could take over the predictable, repetitive tasks of human labor. The company froze hiring and slashed its workforce by almost 40%, dropping from 5,500 employees to 3,400. They handed the jobs of over 700 customer service agents to a single AI chatbot. The bot handled simple tasks fine, but the moment customers presented complex financial issues, the system failed. Frustration spiked, and trust in the digital bank plummeted. To stop the bleeding, Klarna was forced into a humiliating corporate U-turn. Highly paid engineers and marketing staff had to abandon their actual jobs to man customer service phones while the company scrambled to rehire. Firing your institutional brain trust to save money on basic tasks leaves a company completely paralyzed when the AI inevitably hallucinates. Klarna is not an isolated incident. Research firm Forrester has tracked this shift closely, revealing that 55% of employers already regret the decision to cut their staff for AI. Companies fired the pilots to save weight, and now nobody knows how to fly the plane. Forrester predicts that companies will be forced to reverse half of all AI-related layoffs by 2027, just to keep their operations functioning. This creates an impending power shift in the labor market. The workers who built the modern tech infrastructure and were recently forced out are about to return to the negotiating table with immense leverage. If the Forrester projections hold, the trillion-dollar gamble to replace human labor with a digital yes man will end in a costly reversal. The same executives who conducted mass layoffs will find themselves paying a premium to rehire the institutional